Hi there. Brief disclaimer. I cannot provide support. I've done over 400 tutorials so far. We're in late 2019 and I just don't have the time and the patience. Although I appreciate your comments. Sometimes I get comments on tutorials which are years old. I don't find that menu, or it's so slow in rendering. How can I improve the rendering time? I could help, but I cannot help because I just don't have the time and the patience to go back to the to those tutorials. I need to go forward, and so please bear with me. And this is an apology, I know. What I want to show you today is this. We're in a world of 3 dimensions, X, Y, and Z, and I want to create several points in space, like the red ones here, or maybe 5 of them, just randomly placed in space. That's trivial, I know. You can do it with locators, whatever. We'll do it slightly differently. Why would I want to do this? Well, because of that, I want to create connections between the points. So we create curves between all the points. And the third thing could be creating a surface. And that's going to be tricky with 4 or 5 points. Now call me crazy, I'm using particle simulation in order to get the points in space. FX, nParticles, create emitter. I'll reset the settings to the default and apply it. You don't have to do this if you haven't messed around with it anyway. When we press Ctrl A, we see the attribute editor. And we want the particles to not move down, but to move up, or in all directions. That's why we go to Dynamic Properties and ignore the solver gravity. Now, that's what they do. They spread out in space. Now we go to the emitter because we have too many particles now in the scene, and we only need 3 or 4 or 5 maximum. So we just change the rate, the particles per second, to maybe 8. 8 particles per second. Nice, that's what I like. We could actually change the background color so we see the particles better. Now I'll use, well, this one, that one here, the 3 ones here in space, and I just want to connect them with curves. So this is how I go about it. Curves and surfaces. If you don't find that menu set here, the blue icons here, go to create, and then you find the curves as well. So this is a standard curve tool here, and when I place it somewhere in space, like here, it is somewhere in space. So let me undo this. I need to snap my curve to that point here. And the way to do this is press and holding the key V. So it actually snaps here. Then I snap here again with the key V. This is the first curve. Now I repeat the last command. That's the key G. I could as well click here to repeat the last command. I just snap it here and snap it there. Press enter again, so I have the second curve. G. Now I'm constructing the third curve, again with snapping. And now we're here. And I go back to this view here in order to see our 3 points in space and the connecting curves. Now, if I want to create a surface, can it be flat? Of course it does. It is flat because it's a triangle, and you cannot construct a triangle which is not flat. With just straight connections between the 3 points, it's just a flat triangle. You might have never thought about it. I haven't either, but this is how to go about it. You go to Surfaces and Planar, because it's a plane. And now you see that plane here. Let me collect the curves together in a group. Control G. Call it Triangle G. Let me start the simulation again. We don't need that many really, like this. Now I want 4. Okay, curve tool, snapping V. Let me search the second one. For example, that one up here, V. So that's my first curve. The key G in order to repeat the last command. And I set the first point here for the second curve. And then I go down here. Snapping again, second curve. Now comes the third curve, probably to this one here. So G, snapping with the key V, snapping with the key V, enter. So this is the third curve. And now you see that it's not a plane anymore already. If you would construct something right here, it would not be a planar surface. You would have to use other tools. Repeat the last command and finalize this. Change the background color, Alt V. No, sorry, it's Alt B. Alt V is a good shortcut as well, if it's just as you've just seen. So this is our new geometry here. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 points in space and 4 curves now. These are the curves, and I go to surfaces and I create a square object. And here it is. And now I'm going to do something different with, again, 4 curves. Right mouse click and show the control vertices. 3 in the middle and then the surrounding ones here. So select the 2 here and I move the points, the CVs, a little bit up. And I do the same here. Actually, I can select them all. Press the key F8 to give me the components. And then I just lower those. Raise this one. And lower this one. And back with F8, I'm back in object mode. So I have curved curves now, not straight anymore. The key 3. And they look a little bit more roundish, the way they would be rendered anyway. Can I use the surfaces square tool? I think I can. Yeah, yes, I can. But I could as well use the, I think, much more flexible boundary version here. You see that it's black from the top and gray from the bottom. So we select the surface, go to surfaces and reverse the direction. So we see it in gray now. It doesn't matter for rendering, it's just a way to visualize them here. If you have 5 curves, both commands will fail. The surfaces, boundary and square. Boundary wants 3 or 4 curves and square wants 3 or 4 curves. So they are very similar, these 2 commands. And if we have something with 5 edges, how do we go about this? Well, let me breed a few more particles here. Okay. Now we do the same thing with 5 edges, and I'll show you how to go about that. Let me start here. Okay, the curve tool, snapping with the key V, and I go here. That's the first one. Doesn't matter if they're straight or not straight at this point. And just for fun, I press F8 and lower this one and raise this one. As long as the edges are attached, it is a valid construction, object mode. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have even 6 of them. When I apply the surface's boundary now, I get only this part here as a surface, which is not what I want. So you would typically do this. You create, in this case, a 7th curve by clicking here and snapping again. Now you need to have a close look. I'm going to connect these 2 here. I could as well connect this one and that one. Actually, let me do this. So I snap to this one, and I snap to that one, and I press enter. And now I'm going to create a boundary surface from those 4 surfaces, boundary. And I reverse the surface direction so I see it properly. So that's the first one. And now I select that curve here. Select it now. And that one, and that one, and that one. And I repeat the last command, surfaces, boundary. And now I have a surface connection to connecting surfaces, which is basically how you would deal with such a thing. You can now, if you want, select both surfaces and attach them. So we have a new surface, and if we hide the previous ones, this is the surface you get. It tries to acknowledge the edges, but it has some freedom of interpretation here. Well, what I wanted to show you in this tutorial was, if you need points in space, use particles. It's really sexy and it's easy to use, and they are good for snapping. If you have just 3 points in space and want to connect them and create a surface, it's easy, it's planar. If it's 4, it's in most cases not planar, but you can use one of the 2 commands here, the boundary and the square. And if you have more of them, you have to actually make interconnections within the construction, and then you create several surfaces which are sort of attached to each other, and with the attach or align command you can align them later.